Here's how I made this multi-part mold for my Philipod project. After creating a decent sized mold, I decided to create this foot mold that could hold up to 8 feet, which is the number needed for a single Philipod prototype. Here's how I designed it. I started off with the foot model, and then I created a large middle cylinder which I'll later use to create the resin pour hole. Then I created a sketch in the middle of the foot and added these angled lines. I used the pipe command to make them into solid cylinders which I'll use to subtract out the air vents. After that, I added a midplane and created an outer sketch which I then extruded up and down to create 2 separate bodies. Then I subtracted out the foot and the other bodies that I made before, creating a cavity with holes in the mold. To make pouring the silicone easier, I added a simple neck to the top pour hole, and then I patterned the top part, creating 8 cavities which I then combined into a single body. I added these little cutouts on the side to help me open the mold with a flathead screwdriver. Once that was finished, I patterned and combined the bottom part as well. Once I had the 2 main pieces, I added some basic keys to make everything align, and then I finished off the parts with some fillets and chamfers before adding a shell at the end to save on resin. Here's how it looked when I was done with it. Next, I sent the model over to preform. I tried to orient the parts so that the supports were only on the back of the molds with minimal supports touching the mold surface. The printer made the molds pretty easily. I did some minimal post-processing and then everything was ready to pour. I used the same 30 short silicone as last time and tried to pour it in. Yet again, the viscosity was a challenge. I ended up trying to pour a small stream in the holes, but eventually that was pretty difficult to do consistently. And yes, I realized I could print or purchase a funnel, which is probably a good idea for next time. I eventually filled the holes all the way up, and then I waited a day for the silicone to harden. Here's what the mold looked like after hardening up. I was able to use a flathead screwdriver to pry open the mold just like I had planned, so that worked out pretty well. Here's how the parts turned out. I did some post-processing by cutting off the silicone that was in the air vents and the pour hole, as well as any flashing around the seam, but after all that, the parts look pretty respectable, especially for prototypes. Follow on for more updates coming soon. Thanks for watching.